It was broad daylight. A quiet street. Cameras everywhere. And yet, a man was executed in front of the world. No masks. No rush. No fear. What the camera captured was terrifying. But what investigators found hidden inside the footage was even worse. Stay with me. Because this was not just a murder. It was a message. The sun was high. Bright. Unforgiving. It was just past noon when the camera captured him walking down Maple Avenue. A quiet suburban street. Children's bicycles resting on lawns. Wind chimes humming softly in the breeze. Nothing felt dangerous. Nothing looked wrong. The security camera above the grocery store blinked silently. Recording everything. Every passing car. Every shadow. Every ordinary second. Daniel Harper stepped into frame. 34 years old. School teacher. Holding a paper bag with fresh bread and milk. He paused at the crosswalk. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. A lawn mower growled 2 houses away. The world felt painfully normal. Then a black sedan turned the corner. Slow. Deliberate. Too slow for traffic that light. The engine hummed low. The windows were tinted. No license plate on the front. Daniel glanced once. Then twice. A flicker of confusion crossed his face. The sedan stopped beside him. Right in the middle of the street. The driver window rolled down. Halfway. No words were exchanged. The camera had no audio. Only images. But the tension was visible. Daniel took a step back. His shoulders stiffened. The grocery bag slipped slightly from his grip. The street felt quieter. As if the air itself had tightened. A hand emerged from the window. Calm. Steady. Holding a handgun. Black. Matte. Unwavering. For a split second Daniel froze. Shock painted across his face. His eyes widened. His mouth opened as if to speak. The first shot shattered the silence. Birds exploded from the trees. A car alarm screamed in the distance. Daniel staggered backward. The bread fell onto the pavement. Milk spilled. White spreading across hot concrete. The second shot struck him in the chest. His body jerked. His knees buckled. He collapsed onto the crosswalk lines. Bright white stripes beneath him. Stained red within seconds. The sedan did not rush away. It lingered. For 3 long seconds. As if the driver wanted to be seen. Wanted the camera to witness. Then the window rolled up. Smooth. Controlled. The car accelerated calmly. Turning the corner. Disappearing from view. Neighbors began to step outside. Faces pale. Hands trembling. One woman screamed his name. Another dropped her phone while dialing emergency services. The security camera kept recording. Unblinking. Emotionless. Capturing Daniel's shallow movements. The way his fingers twitched against the asphalt. The way his eyes searched the sky. Confused. Uncomprehending. The sirens arrived 4 minutes later. Too late. Paramedics knelt beside him. Blue gloves pressing against crimson wounds. Their radios crackled urgently. But the life had already drained from his stare. The footage spread within hours. Shared across news stations. Across social media feeds. Across the nation. Broad daylight. No disguise. No hesitation. Investigators studied every frame. Zooming into reflections on nearby windows. Enhancing the grainy outline of the driver's silhouette. They noticed something unsettling. The driver's face was partially visible in the side mirror. Not masked. Not hidden. Watching Daniel collapse. Expressionless. As if observing a routine task. But that was not the most chilling detail. Just seconds before the sedan turned the corner, a second figure appeared in the back seat. Barely visible through tinted glass. A shape leaning forward. Watching too. The camera caught the faint outline of a smile. Small. Cold. Intentional. This was not random. This was planned. Two people inside that vehicle. Two witnesses to the act. Or two participants. Detectives traced the sedan to a rental agency 40 miles away. The identification was fake. The payment was cash. No fingerprints were found inside the abandoned vehicle 3 days later. It had been burned. Left in an empty warehouse. Ash and twisted metal. But the footage remained. Frame by frame. Studied relentlessly. Then a new detail surfaced. On the opposite side of Maple Avenue. Mounted above a quiet residence. Another camera. Hidden beneath the eaves. It showed something the grocery store camera did not. Minutes before the shooting. Daniel received a phone call. He stopped walking. Answered. His expression changed instantly. Not confusion. Recognition. Fear. He looked straight toward the approaching corner. As if he knew what was coming. As if he had been warned. Or summoned. The call lasted 12 seconds. Then he slipped the phone back into his pocket. And waited. The black sedan appeared exactly 30 seconds later. Investigators pulled his phone records. The number was untraceable. A disposable device. Activated that morning. Deactivated moments after the call. One final discovery froze the entire investigation team. The call was made from a location less than 100 meters away. Someone nearby had watched him answer. Someone nearby had ensured he remained in that exact spot. And as detectives expanded the footage from surrounding homes, they found a pedestrian standing across the street during the shooting. A man in a gray hoodie. Face partially covered. Holding a phone. Not calling for help. Recording. He did not flinch at the gunfire. He did not run. He stood still. As if expecting it. As if part of it. When the sedan drove away, the man lowered his phone. Turned calmly. And walked out of frame. Blending into the daylight. Vanishing into a neighborhood that would never feel safe again. The gray hoodie figure reappeared on another camera 2 blocks away. Walking with steady steps. Not hurried. Not nervous. Traffic moved around him. People crossed streets unaware of what had just happened. He reached a parked motorcycle. Black. Unmarked. Helmet resting on the seat. He slipped the phone into his pocket. Put the helmet on. Mounted the bike. And drove in the opposite direction of the fleeing sedan. A coordinated exit. Deliberate. Calculated. Investigators mapped the timing. The call. The sedan's arrival. The motorcycle departure. Everything aligned with surgical precision. This was not rage. This was choreography. Daniel's life began to unravel under scrutiny. Financial records were clean. No gambling. No debt. No known enemies. But one detail disturbed detectives. 2 weeks before the murder, Daniel had filed a formal complaint at his school. Against a colleague. A substitute teacher named Marcus Vale. The accusation was serious. Inappropriate conduct with a student. The complaint triggered an internal investigation. Quiet. Confidential. Marcus Vale was placed on temporary leave. He denied everything. He claimed Daniel had misunderstood a situation. He claimed jealousy, resentment, professional rivalry. But surveillance footage from the school parking lot revealed something else. 3 nights before the murder, Marcus stood beside a black sedan. The same model. The same dent above the rear wheel well. He was speaking to someone inside the driver's seat. The footage was grainy. But the posture was clear. Tense. Focused. Marcus had an alibi for the time of the shooting. He was at home. Alone. No visitors. No cameras. His phone remained inside his apartment the entire afternoon. Resting on a kitchen counter. Connected to home Wi-Fi. A perfect digital presence. Too perfect. Investigators pulled traffic camera data from the rental agency. A man wearing a baseball cap rented the sedan. The signature was fake. But the gate was familiar. When they compared it to school hallway footage, the stride matched Marcus. Subtle limp in the left foot. Barely noticeable. Unless you were searching for it. Then came the autopsy report. Daniel had defensive bruising on his right hand. Small abrasions. Fresh. As if he had struck something days before his death. His knuckles carried skin traces. Not his own. DNA analysis returned a partial match. Marcus Vale. The evidence tightened like a noose. But the driver remained unidentified. The hoodie motorcyclist remained nameless. Then a breakthrough. A fingerprint lifted from the discarded motorcycle helmet. Belonging to a woman. Elena Cross. A former private investigator. License revoked after misconduct allegations. She had once worked security consultation jobs. Including contract work for the same rental agency that provided the sedan. Her financial records showed a sudden deposit. Large. Transferred from an offshore account 3 days before the murder. When police located Elena, her apartment was empty. Closets cleared. Computer hard drives removed. Only one thing left behind. A single printed photograph. Daniel Harper standing outside the school. Taken from a distance. Unaware. The back of the photograph carried handwriting. 3 words. Make it public. The phrase echoed through the investigation room. Make it public. Was Daniel planning to expose something larger than one complaint? Was the complaint only the surface? Detectives reopened school records. They discovered 2 previous allegations. Silenced quietly. Settled without police involvement. Both tied loosely to Marcus Vale. Both buried. Daniel had pushed further. Demanded law enforcement review. Refused internal handling. He had told a friend he would not let it disappear. He would make it public. That phrase was his. Not the killer's. Which meant the photograph was a message. Mocking. Or warning. 3 months after the murder. A package arrived anonymously at the local news station. Inside was a flash drive. Containing footage. High definition. Different angle. Recorded from inside the sedan. The camera faced outward. Showing Daniel clearly. Showing the gun rising. But more chilling than that. A voice from inside the car. Calm. Female. Say it. The driver hesitated. A male voice answered. He should have stayed silent. The gun fired. The screen shook with recoil. The female voice again. Now. The male voice repeated softly. Make it public. Then the second shot. The footage ended. The newsroom fell silent watching it. Police confirmed the voices matched Marcus Vale. And Elena Cross. But both had vanished. No border records. No financial trail after the offshore transfer. As if they dissolved. Years passed. The footage never faded from public memory. It played in documentaries. In classrooms. In training seminars. A reminder of daylight violence. A reminder of calculated silence. But the most unsettling frame remained the last. Just before the video cut. In the rearview mirror. A third reflection. A face neither Marcus nor Elena. Watching from the back seat. Smiling faintly. Unidentified. Unclaimed. Still out there. The reflection in the rearview mirror became the obsession. Investigators enlarged it pixel by pixel. Adjusted contrast. Stretched light from shadow. The face remained blurred. But the eyes were clear. Focused. Alert. Not afraid. Forensic analysts measured the angle of the mirror. Calculated height and position. The third person had been seated directly behind the driver. Close enough to whisper. Close enough to guide. A silent supervisor. Weeks later, a retired detective contacted the task force. He had seen those eyes before. Not in person. In footage. Years earlier. An unsolved case in another state. Another broad daylight shooting. Another rental vehicle. Another anonymous call moments before the attack. The pattern tightened. That case involved a journalist investigating municipal corruption. Shot outside a courthouse. 2 suspects vanished then as well. And in that old case file, there was a single still image. Captured by accident. A bystander selfie. In the background of the photograph. Inside a passing vehicle. A blurred rear passenger. Eyes visible through glare. Same shape. Same cold steadiness. The retired detective sent the image. Side-by-side comparison. Not identical. But disturbingly similar. A facial recognition sweep returned no match. No driver license. No passport. No social presence. Nothing. As if the face belonged to no official identity. Then financial analysts uncovered something stranger. The offshore account that paid Elena was linked to a shell corporation. That corporation funded legal settlements. Quiet settlements. Across 3 states. All tied to institutions under internal scandal. Schools. Local government offices. Private organizations. Every time someone prepared to expose wrongdoing publicly. An anonymous threat surfaced. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. In 2 cases, violence followed. Always precise. Always recorded. As if documentation was part of the ritual. As if the message mattered more than the death. Make it public. The phrase twisted in meaning. Was it sarcasm? Punishment? Or branding? A digital forensic expert made a final discovery buried inside the sedan footage. Metadata hidden deep within the file. A signature string embedded in the encoding. 3 letters. MPV. Repeated at the end of every corrupted frame. Cross-reference through old case archives revealed the same digital mark. Attached to a leaked video from the journalist shooting years ago. The same encoding pattern. The same signature. Not random. Intentional. A calling card invisible to the public. Visible only to those who looked closely. Authorities quietly formed a federal task unit. They named the unidentified figure MPV. No full meaning. Just initials pulled from the code. Profiles were built. Psychological sketches drafted. Highly intelligent. Patient. Detached. Prefers manipulation over direct action. Uses others to execute violence. Disappears before impact. Months later, a minor breakthrough surfaced from an unexpected source. A traffic camera technician reviewing archived maintenance footage noticed a man requesting access credentials weeks before Daniel's murder. He claimed to be auditing municipal camera placements. He presented forged documents. His face was captured clearly. Dark hair. Calm expression. Those same eyes. The technician remembered feeling uneasy. Not because of what the man said, but because of how he looked at the cameras. Not as tools. As instruments. Like a conductor studying an orchestra. The man never returned. The credentials he used were tied to another shell company. Dissolved within days. Investigators traced his movements through scattered appearances. Airports. Hotel lobbies. Conference centers. Always near institutions under internal pressure. Always near someone about to speak out. And then. Silence again. Years rolled forward. The case file thickened. But arrests never came. The footage of Daniel remained the clearest evidence of coordination. Of rehearsal. Of ideology wrapped in violence. On the 10th anniversary of the murder. A new video surfaced online. Uploaded anonymously. No title. No description. Just a timestamp. The video opened on a quiet city street in another state. Broad daylight. A woman stepping out of a courthouse. Reporters nearby. Cameras flashing. She looked determined. Ready to speak. Then a black sedan turned the corner. Slow. Deliberate. The frame froze before anything else happened. The screen cut to black. 3 white letters appeared. MPV. And the upload ended. The internet exploded within minutes. Newsrooms replayed the frozen frame. Law enforcement agencies moved before confirmation. They identified the woman. A federal auditor. Scheduled to testify about financial misconduct inside a major infrastructure project. Her name was already trending. Her face already known. Officers were dispatched to the courthouse immediately. The street was secured. Traffic redirected. Plainclothes agents blended into the crowd. The black sedan did appear again. But this time it slowed at the barricade. Then turned away. Vanishing into mid-afternoon traffic. No shots fired. No confrontation. Only presence. Intentional presence. Security footage later revealed something more disturbing. Across the street from the courthouse. Inside a cafe window reflection. A familiar silhouette. Seated alone. Watching the scene unfold. Dark hair. Still posture. Unblinking attention. He did not react when the sedan retreated. He simply observed. As if testing a boundary. As if measuring response time. Facial recognition once again failed to identify him. But agents enhanced the cafe footage. Zoomed into the table surface. A laptop rested before him. On the screen. A grid of live camera feeds. City traffic. Courthouse exterior. Police scanners open in a side window. He was not improvising. He was orchestrating variables. The moment authorities pushed outward to search nearby streets. The cafe chair was empty. The cup still warm. Payment made in cash. No fingerprints left behind. The auditor delivered her testimony under heavy protection. Her voice steady. Her words explosive. Several officials resigned within weeks. Charges followed. The pattern shifted. No violence. Only exposure. As if the message had been received. Months passed without another incident. Then analysts reviewing old evidence discovered a hidden layer in the 10th anniversary upload. A faint audio frequency embedded beneath silence. When isolated and amplified, it revealed a whisper. Low. Controlled. Adapt. Just one word. Adapt. The realization settled heavily across the task unit. MPV had tested public fear. Measured law enforcement speed. Observed media reaction. And adjusted strategy. The goal was never only elimination. It was influence. Psychological leverage. To silence through anticipation. To shape outcomes without always firing a weapon. Daniel Harper's footage had been the loudest example. But not the only one. Agents began re-examining unsolved intimidation cases. Whistleblowers who withdrew statements unexpectedly. Witnesses who changed testimony without explanation. All preceded by subtle digital disturbances. Anonymous videos. Untraceable calls. Symbols hidden in file metadata. MPV. 3 letters that functioned like a shadow signature. Then came the first crack in the armor. A junior cybersecurity analyst traced a microsecond ping embedded in the courthouse upload. A routing anomaly. Brief. Almost invisible. It passed through a rural internet exchange before masking itself offshore. Field agents moved quickly. The rural exchange led to a modest house on the outskirts of a quiet town. Curtains drawn. Mailbox empty. Utility usage minimal but consistent. A warrant was approved. The door was breached at dawn. Inside. Clean surfaces. Sparse furniture. Multiple monitors mounted along one wall. Disconnected. Hard drives removed. But one thing remained powered. A single small camera mounted above the doorway. Pointed inward. Recording the entry team. Recording their faces. On the desk beneath it lay a printed photograph. Taken moments earlier. The cafe image. The silhouette. On the back. Fresh ink. You are learning. Outside, neighbors reported seeing a dark sedan leave the property before sunrise. No plates. Moving calmly. On a highway camera 20 miles away. The rearview mirror caught a brief reflection. Eyes steady. Watching the road behind. Watching the approaching patrol car in the distance. Then the vehicle merged into heavy traffic. Lost among hundreds of others. The patrol car passed without noticing. And somewhere beyond the grid of cameras and code. Beyond the headlines and task forces. The architect continued to adapt. Still observing. Still calculating. Still waiting for the next moment someone decided to make something public. Years passed. The headlines faded. The footage played less often. But inside the Federal Archive, the file remained active. Daniel Harper's name never left the system. Investigators rotated in and out of the task unit. Some retired. Some transferred. But the pattern board stayed mounted on the wall. Photos connected by thin red lines. Sedans. Courthouses. Schools. Whistleblowers. 3 letters written in black marker at the center. MPV. Then something unexpected happened. Not another threat. Not another video. Silence. Total silence. 5 full years without a single coded upload. Without a suspicious sedan. Without a whisper buried in audio. The world moved forward. Institutions tightened transparency policies. Security systems improved. Public reporting channels expanded. Whistleblowers received stronger protection. The climate shifted. Exposure no longer felt rare. It felt inevitable. And perhaps that was the turning point. Because the power of fear depends on isolation. And isolation had weakened. On a quiet autumn morning, a sealed envelope arrived at the original task unit office. No return address. No postage stamp. It had been hand-delivered. Inside was a single flash drive. No note. No symbol. Just a file labeled Final. Agents gathered in the dim briefing room. The screen flickered to life. The video showed an empty room. Concrete walls. No windows. A single chair placed in the center. After several seconds, a man stepped into frame. Older now. Hair touched with gray. Eyes unmistakable. Calm. Measured. He sat down slowly. Looked directly into the camera. For the first time, there was no reflection. No distortion. No rearview mirror. Just his face. His voice was steady. You believed I was hunting people. You were wrong. I was hunting silence. He paused briefly. Institutions protect themselves. People who threaten them stand alone. Fear makes them step back. I created fear so the stepping back would be visible. So the public would ask why. He leaned slightly forward. When fear spreads wide enough, systems are forced to change. You adapted. He allowed the faintest trace of a smile. That was the objective. No confession of specific crimes. No direct admission. Only philosophy wrapped in ambiguity. He continued. Daniel Harper was brave. Bravery creates pressure. Pressure creates reform. Reform creates resilience. You no longer need me. The room fell silent on screen. He stood up. Walked toward the camera. The image blurred as he reached forward. Before the feed cut, 3 letters appeared. Not bold. Not dramatic. Small. Lowercase. MPV. The file ended. Metadata showed it had been recorded weeks earlier. Location data scrubbed completely. No traceable route. No fingerprints on the device. Forensic teams analyzed every frame. Every pixel. Nothing actionable. But something had changed. There were no new incidents after that recording. No intimidation campaigns. No coded uploads. It was as if the architect had stepped out of the game by choice. Or perhaps the structure he built no longer functioned in the same world. Daniel Harper's case was officially marked unresolved. But it was no longer stagnant. Policies across multiple states carried his name in reform bills. Transparency protocols referenced the chain of events that began on Maple Avenue. The crosswalk where milk once spilled beneath the sun became a small memorial. Fresh flowers appeared there every year. No cameras installed above it now. Just open sky. People still remember the footage. The shock of daylight violence. The calm of the departing sedan. The eyes in the mirror. But they also remember what followed. Institutions questioned. Procedures rebuilt. Silence challenged. The camera that recorded Daniel's final moments still exists in evidence storage. Cold. Unblinking. A reminder that truth can be captured. Even when justice feels distant. And somewhere beyond public view, perhaps in a quiet room without windows, perhaps nowhere at all, the architect who once orchestrated fear watches a world that learned to watch itself. The sun still rises over Maple Avenue. Children still ride bicycles past the crosswalk. Wind chimes still hum in the afternoon air. Life continues in the open. Under the light.